My bio mom's husband offered to adopt me. I'm already adopted. I'm 18, non-binary, and I don't remember the exact ages of my biological mother and her husband, but they are in their late 40s at least. I'll call them Claire and Daniel. Background: Claire had me and my brother while she was an addict and had a lot of untreated issues: bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, schizophrenia, etc. I won't go into a lot of detail because it's very heavy, but long story short, she married a bad man, and because of his and her actions, she lost custody of us when we were 5, and we eventually got adopted when we were 8. She divorced that man and is now married to Daniel. Story: Claire at the time had gotten diagnosed with a terminal illness, so I had agreed to fly out there to visit her. I had never gotten super close with Daniel, but we were relatively friendly. At first, the visit was okay and everyone was acting normal. But then things kind of started going downhill. Claire asked if I would consider moving out there for the time she had left, and I said I would consider it. She seemed to be happy with that answer at first, along with Daniel, but then it started to go downhill. They started acting like I was definitely moving in and started trying to make all of these decisions before I had even decided, like wanting to go to the Social Security office to see if I still qualified for insurance, etc. It was hard for me to push back on it and set boundaries because I'm autistic and communication is hard, so I just kind of brushed it off. One night, Claire and I were having a deep conversation, and Daniel joined in, which led to him offering to adopt me. I explained that I was already adopted and that I did not want to be adopted again, and he seemed to drop the issue. Over the next few days, though, he started getting more authoritative, I guess. Whenever I talked about something, he would correct me, even if he was obviously wrong. It even got to the point where I was trying to bond with him and talk to him about my transgender experience. He straight up said that I should try to be comfortable being a woman and that he didn't want me to get gender-affirming surgery, that I needed to fully experience being a woman before I decided. I deflected from the topic but felt very uncomfortable. When I flew home and told my mom everything, she texted Claire, saying that she basically needed to take a chill pill and that Daniel needed to stop inserting himself in our lives like he was a parent. The last thing I heard about the situation is that when my brother visited later, Daniel told him something basically to the effect that I was influenced easily, and that's why I'm non-binary. I haven't talked to him since besides saying hi when I'm on the phone with Claire. Stay away from them. As sad as your bio mom's situation is, you need to protect yourself. Don't move there and make sure your brother knows how you feel. Basically, your bio mom is a stranger to you and hasn't really raised you, and now her and her whatever wants you to move there. You can talk to her, but never go back out there ever again. I would worry about her whatever escalating things, and you don't want to be in that situation with no help available. Am I the antagonist for calling out my stepdad's parents for how they talk about me? I, 17-year-old female, have a blended family. My mom brought me and my 2 half-siblings, 10 and 8 years old, into her marriage with Mark 2 years ago. Mark also had 2 kids when they met. My younger siblings and my step-siblings call Mark and my mom and dad. My step-siblings' mom is only sort of present in their lives. She lives in another state and doesn't really keep in touch with them often. They can sometimes go over a year without seeing or hearing from her, and they don't remember her being more present, so to them, my mom is their mom. My siblings feel the same way about Mark because they don't remember their dad. I was 12 years old when my mom and Mark met, 13 when I met Mark, and 15 when they got married. Because of my age and being used to not having a dad, I never saw Mark as my dad. I don't call him dad. I don't introduce him as my dad either. Mark doesn't care. We have a good, solid relationship, but it's different to the one he has with my younger siblings and step-siblings. My mom also doesn't care, and she was really instrumental in everything being open and clear to both Mark and me when they were dating and figuring out how to blend things. Mark's parents do not like me. They hide it incredibly well. Like they have never said anything or shown this directly when my mom, Mark, or I are around. I was helping Mark with some errands recently, and I met someone from his parents' church who scolded me out of nowhere. It really took me by surprise because I had seen this person twice maybe and didn't even know their name. Mark doesn't either, but she recognized me and she told me it was disgusting how I treat Mark. I was so shocked. She told me it wasn't surprising they, Mark's parents, didn't like being around me and found my attitude repulsive. She walked away before I could ask any questions. A couple of weeks after that, I saw Mark's parents out running their own errands and heard them talk to someone else about how awful I was. They accused me of disrespecting Mark. They said I was a teenage terror who was out to make everyone's lives hell. They made some wild accusations. Then that weekend they were over at our house acting totally normal. Mark's mom gave my brother her phone and he saw a contact saved under Shadite. I called the phone and sure enough it was me. This is when I spoke up and I called out Mark's parents for how they talk about me, and I told them they should be more honest around us about what they think of me really. Mark asked me what was going on and I told him about their church friend and what I heard them say about me. Mark was furious with his parents, but they were furious that I didn't stay quiet because they're allowed to find it disgusting and rude that I won't accept their son fully. Mark and my mom kicked them out, but Mark's parents said I was stirring shit. Am I the asshole? They're creating drama from nowhere, and you are defending yourself. Mark clearly has your back and your relationship with him seems solid. They are the off for inventing stuff about you and stirring up drama. If people are talking and lying about you behind your back, you have every right to be upset with them. Would I be the antagonist if I kick this person out of my project group? So I, 20 years old female, was doing a group project with my schoolmate P, 20 years old female, and the word limit for this report is 4,000 words. About a week ago, I noticed that P wrote over 4,000 words in our shared document without any prior discussions with me, leaving very little things for me to do. I found this very confusing and asked her why she was doing everything without dividing the work with me. P told me that she accidentally wrote too much, and since my part was not really important, I should keep it short and 500 words will be enough. I thought this arrangement was a bit weird, but I decided to read her work and do my own part first. I later added my part to the shared document. Yesterday I saw that P has almost completely rewritten my part without informing me, cutting my already short part into about 200 words, and the meaning of this rewritten work was significantly different from my original one. Her 4,000 words were mostly cited from different sources, having almost no analysis of her own and contained some out-of-topic stuff. She also behaved similarly in another group project we are working on by occupying more than half of the total word limit with her one single part and making the other groupmates annoyed. I then confronted her and suggested that she should give others some chance to contribute instead of doing everything on her own and exceeding the word limit. But after that, she simply privated the group project document, and I no longer have access to my own work. I tried reasoning with her again, but she still argued that my part was not important, and replied by calling my confrontation a petty argument, and she has been generous and fair to me. She also demanded me to apologize. I found her very unreasonable and hard to cooperate with. I still have about half a month to finish this project. Would I be the one at fault if I inform my professors and kick her out of the group? I talked to the relevant professor about the situation along with showing him some evidence of what happened. He said I can go solo, and he will not deduct any marks from my work for not being able to cooperate with P. I have stopped working with her in this project and will inform her about it. For the other project where P also annoyed the other groupmates by being inconsiderate and exceeding the word limit again, my other groupmates were informed with why and how I stopped working with her in this two people's project. She has stopped communicating with us. We will likely request her to shorten her part. If she refuses to cooperate with us, we will simply report her to the professor. Inform your professor about the toxic behaviors in the group, but don't kick her out. Ask for advice on how to address it. By doing so, your professor will see that you want to contribute but she's not allowing it. If someone tries to take over a group project, immediately speak with your teammates and relevant professors to address the issue. This approach will help ensure that whatever steps are taken next are guided by your professor's feedback, minimizing any blowback from the school or the individual in question. My husband allowed 2 men to harass me. How should I handle this? My husband and I were on a popular mountain that a lot of people hike and take pictures on. I normally take my own photos with my standing tripod because I do content creation for work. I was by a cliff, and I was taking videos and pictures of myself and the view. My husband was standing a few feet away from me watching. All of a sudden, 2 men with an accent walked up to me. I couldn't understand them at first, but from it sounded like they wanted me to move out of their way. So I grabbed my tripod and was getting ready to leave, and the men stopped me and were like, "No, come here. We want to take a picture with you." I gave them a nervous laugh, shook my head and turned to look at my husband who was standing there. The men continued on saying they wanted a picture with me because I was so pretty and were holding their arms out for me to take it. At this point I had 1 man behind me and the other in front of me, so I felt cornered. I told them no, I'm okay, and they continued on asking to take a picture with me. I looked over at my husband who was still standing about 6 feet away just staring at me and them. I was trying to show that I was so uncomfortable, but my husband wasn't getting the hint. The men didn't even know that my husband was right there, or they knew and didn't care. After what seemed like 5 minutes of back and forth, I eventually built up the courage to walk around the men to get away from them. I went over to my husband and I said, "Why didn't you say anything? Those men were being creepy." He just said, "I was shaking my head at them and was hoping you would just walk away. So I'm not sure how to feel about it. I don't feel protected and I feel worthless of that protection from my husband." I spoke to my husband. He basically said that he didn't see the situation this way and felt it unnecessary to step in. After the 3rd time of the guys asking me after I told them no, he said he shook his head at them and the guy finally looked up and noticed him. But apparently the guys didn't care because they kept asking me. The path I was on was a one-way path, so I had to step around the second guy to walk away, which is why I didn't immediately walk away. I was looking at my husband more than I was looking at them because I felt uncomfortable and was hoping he would say something to me. He also said he was trying to see how I would respond to flirting. I guess you can say I just wanted my husband to be the type to step in and say, "Hey baby, come here." Even just yelling it from afar, it would have been a huge turn on. It would have made me feel taken care of, protected, like the "she is mine, back off" type of feeling. I left the door open for him to do that. But I guess it's just not his personality. It just sucks because I see those prank videos of the guys trying to flirt with couples and the man steps in and says something. I love that. Not everyone's reality is a romance book, I guess. I can't believe your ex did that to you. What a coward. It's heartbreaking when the person you love fails to protect you in a dangerous situation. It's important to have a partner who will always have your back, no matter what. Let's hope you find someone who will treat you with the respect and care you deserve. Am I the antagonist for asking my wife's aunt why she's so obsessed with her brother's life? I, 25 years old male, have been married to Ella, 25 years old female, for 2 years now. Ella is very close to her dad, Steve, and so are Ella's 3 older siblings. I'm also very close to Steve, and I have a better relationship with him than I have with my own family. We spend a lot of time with Steve and with Ella's 3 siblings and their partners. It's nice. From the time we met, I always knew Ella loved being close to her family and that she liked living near them. I find it great too since we always have family close by, and it's a loving and supportive family, and not just people who want you when they want something from you. Steve lost his wife, also known as my late mother-in-law, when Ella was only a baby. They married and had kids young, and Steve was a widower by the age of 25. He devoted the next 18 years to raising his kids and making all 5 of their lives, the kids and his own, as good as it could be. He has never dated or sought another romantic relationship, and he has no interest in one. He still adores his late wife and doesn't feel like he could ever look at someone else and want them romantically. This is something that Steve's sister has been upset by, very opinionated on. Over the years, Steve's sister has told him he needs to move on, has thrown women his way in the hopes he would find someone and kick their brains out, to quote Ella's aunt, and then open himself up to falling in love. She tried telling Steve he would end up alone and miserable once the kids moved out, that he wouldn't have anyone around him. She tried to convince him he was dying for sex and romance and an adult of a similar age to him to spend his life with. From what Steve has told me, she has been pretty annoying about it, which gets me to the conflict. We celebrated Steve's birthday a little later than planned, last weekend to be exact, because life got in the way. His sister came into town to surprise everyone, and she said he wanted to celebrate her brother. The dinner quickly turned into the sister encouraging him to date again, dismissing Ella and her siblings when they pointed out he isn't alone like she was saying, and her telling them that they simply wanted him to remain faithful to their ghost mother forever. Steve and his sister were fighting about it. She said it was crazy and ridiculous that all 4 of his adult kids stayed local, and she claimed they were doing it because they felt bad for him, and he needed someone so they could spread their wings. My oldest brother-in-law said they just like being near their dad and each other. She said that's not what Steve needs. He needs a woman. He needs a wife. He needs sex. This is when I jumped in and asked her why she's so obsessed with her brother's life and why she has nothing else to worry about. She was taken aback by my interference, and she told me to learn how to speak to people politely. Steve told her I had a point, and he asked her to leave. She claimed I owed her an apology for my accusation against her character. Am I the asshole? Pretty gross how obsessed she is with her brother's life and how she dismisses the feelings of others. You do not owe an apology, and I'd be willing to bet the dad, Ella, and all of the siblings were grateful that you helped defend against her obnoxious onslaught. Am I the antagonist for telling my brother that he is never allowed to be around my new girlfriend? I am 19 years old, and my older brother, who is 22 years old, both work at the same factory. About 5 months ago, my brother and I became friends with a woman, 23 years old, who also works at the factory with us. Soon after we became friends, she lost her apartment, and since my brother and I both live in the same house, we told her that she could live with us. I have never had feelings for this woman, but my brother and her went out a few times. They were not exclusive, but they were getting close to it, taking things slow. While my brother and this woman were seeing each other, I and my brother became friends with another woman, 20 years old. I expressed my feelings for this woman, and my brother knew about it. Soon after we became friends, my brother asked her out, knowing that I liked her. They became exclusive shortly after. He completely disregarded the woman from the factory, leaving her behind after telling her he could see a future with her. This is not the first time he has pursued a woman I have feelings for. He has done this twice before, and they ended up dating each time. I used to think it was just a coincidence, but with the recent events, I'm starting to believe he does it intentionally. Recently, I mentioned to him that I had a new girlfriend. He was excited to meet her, but I made it clear that I would not introduce them, given his history. He was puzzled and asked why. I reminded him that he has dated 3 women I had feelings for in the past, and it seems deliberate. He began to cry, saying it hurt him that I would think that of him. I walked away from the conversation. I am certain he does it on purpose because he was close to being exclusive with the woman from the factory, but broke her heart and chose the woman I had feelings for. I have a rivalry with my brother, and he has always tried to one-up me. I want to end this dynamic as we are both adults, and he needs to act like one. So, am I the asshole? Your brother sounds like a messed up, competitive, and insecure person. It's right to keep your girlfriend away from him and create firm boundaries between you. He's a disrespectful creep who deliberately made moves on women you were interested in. I'd suggest moving out with other roommates rather than tolerate his behavior. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.